Welcome to the 2011 opening Convocation event. We are glad to have you with us today as we kick off another great school year and celebrate our successes. And now, sit back and enjoy the show. Strong schools, strong communities. With us today is White Bear Lake Area High School South Campus's Mariner Choir, directed by Marie Dimmitt. Please stand for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The act of building community and acceptance can take a variety of forms. Performing for us today is White Bear Lake Area High School's Common Riders student group.
Who's bad?
We now welcome retiree Jim Galvin, who was a staff member in the White Bear Lake Area School District from 1970 until 1999, serving as math teacher, coach, and athletic director during his tenure. He still takes the time to fill in as a substitute teacher these days in between trips to Caribou and Cone and Cup, or excuse me, Cup and Cone, where he often runs into his students, current and past.
I'm glad to be here. I love going to school. I really like the kids I worked with and like the people I worked with at school. And I love my job almost every day. This is kind of like the first day in class for me. I'm nervous, which might be obvious. This morning after I got out of the shower, I spent about 10 minutes getting my hair ready. Then I forgot to put it on. So I am nervous. I don't know a lot of the people in the room. In fact, I can't see a lot of the people in the room. But I don't know a lot of the people in the room. I would like to make a good impression. I hope what I have to say will mean something to you. And I hope that I'm good enough to do the job. You are here. You are here today because you are all special. Everybody here is special. You have jobs and positions that are related to kids and to families. Each and every one of you special people can and do make a difference in the lives of kids. Your jobs are about relationships with kids, families, and the people you work with. I really do believe it does take a community to raise a child, and you people are an integral part of the community. I got a phone call from a parent just the other day asking if I would make some phone calls in support of the upcoming levy. I said, sure. And then after we talked about that a little bit, I said, well, how's your family doing? Are your kids excited, getting ready for a new school year? And she said, yeah, they really are now. About a week and a half ago, we got a call from Mr. Leonard. He called and said that there's a problem with their son's schedule. One of their sons is going to be a senior at South Campus. There's a problem with your son's schedule. Could you come in and we can talk about it? So the family went in, and Mr. Leonard, bless his heart, he got the schedule all squared away. The student is happy with his schedule, with his teachers, and because the student is happy, the parents are happy. And so Mr. Leonard, relationship that he has with that family is very, very significant. So thank you, Brian. My objective today, I like to have an objective every day when I taught school. I had some kind of an objective. Some days I reached it, some days I didn't. But my objective for today is to share with you 5 behaviors that are going to help you to develop and to maintain good relationships. These behaviors can and should be shared with students, and they might seem like little things to you, but if you take care of the little things, I think the big things will take care of themselves. And I do believe that. I read, if you read the morning paper, an article about Gopher football today, and they talked about the coach there, and he said that same thing. I said, gee, I think I'll use that today. So anyway, number one. These are behaviors that are going to help you to establish and maintain a better or wonderful relationships with the people you work with. Number 1, be a good listener. Listen to your students and coworkers. You don't have to always agree with them, but hear them out. If you listen to them, they're more likely to listen to you. Sometimes your students and your coworkers do have good advice. So be a good listener. Number 2, be nice. Be nice to students and other staff members. Encourage students to be nice to each other. Thank and help others you work with during the school day. have good manners, don't butt in at the head of the lunch line. I got 8 grandchildren now, and we go down, spend time with them as much as we can. And a couple of them are going to school down in Illinois. When we're there, we go to the bus stop with the kids. The oldest one, Tyson, we're standing there talking or playing catch or with a ball or something. The bus stop roars up, the doors open, Tyson hops on, and away he goes. Casey, younger one, he goes about half an hour later. The bus pulls up, the doors open. The bus driver says, "Hi, Casey, how are you today?" With a big smile on his face. Casey lights up. He jumps up on the bus. He's happy. We feel good. And that's a better situation. So relationships are important no matter what our positions are in the school district. Number 3, be there. Be there all the time if possible. Be prepared and ready to go. Greet the kids at the door, in the halls, in the lunchroom. Ask them about their activities. What are they doing? Show an interest in them and what they are doing. Be in the hall I taught in the secondary all the time, I guess, and we had passing time. I really felt it was important to be in the hall at passing time for a whole bunch of good reasons, I think. But one of the saddest things I used to see in the hall, I see the student head down, kind of shuffling down the hall, lonesome, nobody to talk to. I was really sad, and it made me sad to see it. So I did make a point, whenever I saw this, I made a point to go over, say hello to that person, how you doing, anything I can do to help you. And that's about that. But be nice. Be nice to kids. Number 4, buy Kool-Aid from kids. You see the stand, you either pull over, you go around the block, or if you can't do it right now after your meeting that you might be late for, you come back on the way home and you stop by that Kool-Aid stand. Why do you do it? You pull up to the curb, you see the stand and the sign and the prices might be high. You sip the Kool-Aid might be sour. But you buy it anyway, and you put it in your cup holder or whatever, you might drink it. But as you're pulling away from the curb, you hear, "Mommy, Mommy, I sold some." And the goodwill you have generated, the faith, it gives these kids faith in us, old adults. And the goodwill and everything else you've generated in that child is priceless. It's like going to one of their events, whether it's a concert, a play, a spelling bee, whatever, a game. You're buying their Kool-Aid. They're performing. They're doing what they do. You are there to support them. "Mommy, Mommy, my teacher's here," or whatever the case may be. So buy the kids Kool-Aid. I see bumper stickers around once in a while, "Baby on board," or "Bingo Hall," or something. I mean, you should. I'd like to have a little bumper sticker, "I stop at Kool-Aid stand." I've only got about 3 more minutes left. I've only got 5 minutes. I've got to try to hurry a little bit. Okay, number 5, the last one here. Have a positive attitude with the people you work with. Be happy about your job. Enjoy what you do. Have fun with the people you work with. As a younger teacher, I used to get, I was bothered, I would get upset by the interruptions that occurred all the time during the day, until as I got older and wiser, I realized that those interruptions were my job. And once I did realize that, I was happier, and I did welcome the interruptions I got during the day. So those are 5 things that I think are important. Oh, I also got one here. Many years ago, the White Bear Press did a little interview at the end of the school year. It asked a number of staff people from one of our schools, what do you like best about the school year? And then the teachers could reply whatever they thought might be the case. And this has to do with attitude. This particular teacher said June, July, and August. And I read that, and I couldn't believe that I had read that, and I felt embarrassed. I felt sorry for the person, the teacher. I felt embarrassed for my profession. So have a good attitude. And my one saying I have about attitude, not aptitude, will determine your altitude. And I really do believe that. And remember, you can't fool the kids. I think you've probably learned that already, no matter what your role is working with the kids. You can't fool the kids. You must be sincere. If you do not listen and react, if you are not nice or act like a jerk, if you are not there, if you're absent a lot, or if you're too busy when you are there, if you have a negative attitude, if you don't buy their Kool-Aid, they're probably not going to buy yours. The kids know you can't fool the kids. Okay. Over the years, White Bear Lake area schools have had a tradition of strong programs. Our programs are strong not because of the facilities or the money or anything else, but our programs have been strong because of the people. The people like you special people out here. Our programs are strong because of people like you and the kids that you direct in those programs. Families want to live in our school district so that their children might become part of our programs. You people, you work here, you get paid here, some of you live here. Whether you live here or not, I think it's very important that you connect with the community somehow. Your connections will and do enhance relationships with kids, families, and coworkers. How can you get connected? Go to Cup and Cone sometime. Cup and Cone is owned and operated by a White Bear Lake grad. He employs 15 to 20 of our students every year, and there are many, many people from all age groups that hang out and socialize there. Do some shopping here. Attend student activities here. Go to a church here. Take in a market fest. Go to the Manitou Days Parade. Go to a concert. Have some fun here. Your students are playing, working, and living here. It's a chance for your students, the people you work with, to see you outside of the classroom and for you to see them. One teacher had a tough day. I think it was over at Birch Lake. She stopped at Kowalski's down there to pick up some things on the way home. She was kind of like that student, kind of shuffling around, feeling bad. I mean, we've all been there. You had a bad day. As she's walking down the aisles, she heard, "Mommy, Mommy, there's my teacher." A little student came over and grabbed her leg and hugged her. She talked to the mother and the child for about 2-3 minutes, and then she went on her way, but she felt much better about herself and her job. My 5 minutes are probably getting close to being up here. So in closing, I hope that these behaviors will help to enhance your relationships, and that all of you people here today understand how special you are and what a difference you can make in kids' lives. A year or two ago, at a market fest, I was eating or talking or doing something at the market fest. A man approached me. He looked somewhat familiar, but I didn't know him. He said, "I remember you. You're the teacher who used to say hi to me in the halls." And that happens sometimes. So I hope this year will prove to be your best year so far. You don't know maybe for 10, 20 years how good a teacher you were. The more you give, the more you will receive. I believe that strong staff makes for strong schools, which makes for a strong community. Go Bears.
Thanks, Jim. Now to help us celebrate our rich history and traditions, joining us today are representatives from several decades. From the 1930s, Ruth Hanselman Buteau. Ruth is a graduate of the White Bear Lake High School class of 1939. She remembers the high standards and good teachers who prepared her for life. Ruth was White Bear's first drum major and was part of the first cheerleader squad that skated for hockey games. Today, Ruth lives closely in Falcon Heights and retains a love for all things White Bear. From the 1940s, David Garenbeck. David is a graduate of White Bear Lake High School, class of 1949. When he arrived at the high school as a seventh grader, he began a lifelong passion for journalism with Bear Tracks, the high school newspaper. As editor during his senior year, he oversaw the transition of Bear Tracks from a back-page supplement in the White Bear Press to an independent four-page tabloid beginning in 1948 and 49. David's other favorite memory was accompanying the choir on the piano, especially for the production of the operetta Pickles. Today, he again lives in our community after a career as a college music professor and professional organist. David also serves as the editor of the White Bear Lake Area Educational Foundation newsletter. From the 1950s, Bobby Moe. Bobby Moe graduated from White Bear High School in 1957. She recalls the dominance of White Bear sports teams. In her senior year, the football, hockey, and track teams all were crowned Suburban Conference champions. While girls' sports were not given equal time in those days, there was a foreshadowing of the future. Bobby played on the girls' softball team that won the Tri-County Championship 2 years in a row. And more, as an eighth grader, she swam across White Bear Lake. After 34 years as an elementary teacher, 28 years in White Bear Lake, Bobby retired in 2001. She then helped begin the White Bear Lake High School Alumni Association and has been a 9-year member of the White Bear Lake Educational Foundation. From the 1960s, Mike Fleming. Mike is a graduate of the White Bear Lake High School class of 1964. As a student, he excelled in athletics, playing basketball and serving as co-captain of the football team. Mike was grateful to his high school teachers who inspired an interest in looking beyond his community. After graduation, he took a year to backpack in Europe before heading to college. Today, he is a respected attorney in White Bear Lake. Over the past decade, Mike has been a key contributor to the growth of the White Bear Lake Area Educational Foundation, serving as president and as a trusted advocate for the schools. From the 1970s, Mike Gebke. Michael Gebke is a graduate of the White Bear Lake Mariner class of 1979. Mike was an outstanding high school and college athlete. At Mariner, he was a three-sport athlete excelling in cross-country, Nordic skiing, and track. He set 3 school records in track, including the mile and half mile. After high school, Mike attended the University of Minnesota on a scholarship and was a 2-time Big Ten champion. As a high school student, Michael remembers how teachers and coaches took an interest in him, guiding his choices for college and career. His professional career as a manager with 3M has taken Mike and his family around the United States, but in 2002 he returned home to White Bear Lake, where his children have excelled in academics and athletics. From the 1980s, Tim McNiff. Tim is a member of Mariner High School's class of 1981. Tim says he feels truly grateful for having attended Mariner and for the lasting friendships he formed as a student there. Tim adds that it was a great school to attend, and time has only made his high school experience that much more special. Today, Tim lives in the Twin Cities and is anchor of KARE 11 Sunrise, where he is often heard mentioning his hometown of White Bear Lake. From the 1990s, Sarah McCoo Hansen. Sarah Marcoux Hansen is a graduate of the White Bear Lake Area High School class of 1992. During high school, she loved working on Bear Tracks, the student newspaper, and was an active leader helping with homecoming and other school events. She began college with plans to study writing, but her love of history, inspired by her 10th grade American experiment teacher, won over. Sarah is the 5th generation of her family to live in White Bear Lake. Her great-great-grandfather, Marcoux, arrived in 1857. In her professional work, Sarah applies her love of event planning, writing, and research as the executive director of the White Bear Lake Historical Society, helping us all better understand our legacy from past generations. From the 1990s, Carly Schmidt. Carly Schmidt is a graduate of the White Bear Lake Area High School class of 1999. As a high school student, she was actively involved in co-curricular activities, including North Campus Ambassadors, South Campus Service Corps, and Student Council. She remembers turning many class assignments into art projects and helping organize school dances and events. Professionally, now an internationally recognized community-based public artist, she is working on a major public art project in Vadnais Heights. Members of our community have individually painted 11,000 wood tiles, which will be assembled as a mosaic at the new Vadnais Heights Commons. As a high school senior, she was voted the most artistic and most likely to save the world. From the 2000s, Dwayne Neighbors. Dwayne graduated from White Bear Lake Area High School in 2009. As a high school transfer student, he participated in football and excelled on the basketball team. He credits his coaches and his teachers for their support and encouragement during his transition. Since his graduation, Dwayne has served as a youth basketball coach and mentor for students. He considers White Bear Lake a great organization athletically and academically. He uses his athletic skills to teach and motivate young students, with the goal to help them with personal and academic success. Dwayne is currently a student at Bethel University. From this decade, senior Eric Gebke. Eric Gebke is a member of the White Bear Lake Area Schools class of 2012. As a student and athlete, Eric excels. He is at the top of his class academically, taking challenging college-level classes, and is a three-sport athlete, providing leadership as a football captain this fall and an outstanding performer in basketball and track. Eric began in the White Bear Lake Area Schools midway through his second grade year when his family returned to the area. He now serves as the Vice President of the National Honor Society and has been a member of the Superintendent's Student Advisory Committee. In June of this year, Eric was a track state champion in 2 events, a member of the 4x200 relay team and the state champion in the 800-meter run. In this event, he broke the school record set more than 30 years ago by his father. Jim, are you ready?
Yes. Boy, what a powerful reminder of why we're here today. You people are responsible for getting these people started and doing some of the wonderful things they have done. You know, and we support, we appreciate them going through our school system and continuing, you know, to be great advocates, you know, of White Bear Lake and our school system. So we support these generations of students. By doing that, we support our communities. At this time, I would like any of you people in our audience who are graduates of White Bear High School to please stand up. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for either staying here or leaving and coming back. We appreciate that. As long as these people are standing up, I would next like everybody in here to stand up so we can sing our school song together. Do these guys? So, girls, how do you think they did?
Well, I think that was really good. But there's one thing missing.
Really? What was that?
The words.
Okay, the words. Okay, let's try it again. Everybody give it your all. If you don't know the words are on the back of your program. Okay, here we go.
We now welcome White Bear Lake Area School Board Chair Lori Swanson, who has been Lori has been an active parent in our district for many years and has been a school board member since 2001. Lori Swanson.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this is it on? It is, okay, well, thank you. First, I'd like to just admit right up front, I cannot follow the acts that have come before me. So bear with me, I'm going to be your disappointment, I think, this morning, but I can tell you right now, I have never been more proud of this community and this school district, so thank you all. This has been a great chance to really reconnect. Well, good morning, everyone. On behalf of the White Bear Lake Area School Board, welcome to the 2011-2012 school year. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you today. Like you, our school board members are committed to providing a superior educational experience for all students. All board members are parents of current students or graduates of our great school district, and 3 are graduates of our schools themselves. At this time, I'd like to introduce our school board members, and I ask that each stand as I read your name. We do have a couple board members who are unable to join us this morning, Bob Shevik and Janet Newberg, but we certainly do acknowledge their works. So alphabetically, if I could have you stand, that would be great. Kim Chapman. Mr. Chapman lives in the Otter Lake Elementary neighborhood, my neighborhood. Chris Heinecker, our vice chair, he's a Lincoln parent and a parent of a graduate. George Kimball. And George is in the Birch Lake Elementary neighborhood. He is our treasurer. Janet Newberg cannot be here today. I believe she is moving her son into his apartment. Bob Shevik, who also could not be here this morning, he's a Willow Elementary attendance area parent, and he does travel quite a bit. He sends his regards. And finally, Kathy Story, our board clerk, who is a Vadnais parent. Thank you all for being here today. We appreciate it. Also joining us here this morning are our student representatives to the school board for the coming year. Michelle York and Emily DeSmet. Please stand, ladies, and be recognized. If we could have the house lights up again, turn around. We're looking forward to serving our community alongside you this school year. And we do encourage you to give us your student perspective as we go along through the year. It's very, very important to us. And thank you so much for taking on these leadership roles. We really appreciate it. Our program this morning, as you can see, is a celebration of the richness of our history, the pride in our community, the powerful connection between strong schools and strong community, and how that connection leaves a lifelong impression on our students. The speakers here this morning and messages conveyed will hopefully inspire you and make you proud to be part of a school district that has a positive impact on its community. So how do you show your pride in our school district and our community? Like so many, did you graduate from our schools, perhaps move away and move back here? Have you shown your pride by supporting the efforts of our local businesses, service organizations, faith communities, and the White Bear Lake Area Educational Foundation and our students, who all come together for a common cause to help those in need in our community? Have you lost track of the number of pounds of canned goods you have donated to our students for their Trick or Can event on Halloween? For the White Bear Lake Food Shelf, Or for a variety of school supplies you've donated through various organizations, which have made their way into the hundreds and hundreds of backpacks, full backpacks, that we donate to our students in need each year. Or do you choose to drive by every other ice cream shop in town, on your way home from cheering on one of our hometown teams, to stand in line among the throngs of community members on any given evening to buy your treat from the local business owners of the Cup and Cone. In other words, buy the Kool-Aid. Most certainly, you exhibit your pride and your understanding of the important connection between strong schools and a strong community by the relationships you form with our students. Your individual roles within the school district and your positive impact on our students are valued and are greatly appreciated. Whether you are transporting our students, providing curricular and co-curricular experiences that will challenge them and allow them to discover their passions, or nurturing their minds and their bodies, the spirit of a caring community is represented in your efforts. And a caring community supports you. The trust in you and the confidence our community has in the White Bear Lake Area School District are shown in the tremendous number of classroom volunteers who visit our classroom each and every day of the school year, by the community members and business leaders who partner with you to serve as advisors and mentors for our student groups, the community members who volunteered their time and expertise to the district's strategic planning process, and the business leaders who have partnered with our schools to provide enriching experiences for our students. Finally, the trust and confidence in your commitment to our students is shown in the community's financial support through the school district's local operating levy referendum. Thank you, community. Be proud of your school district and your community. Be proud knowing that our school district contributes to the richness of this community. Wear your pride on your sleeve. Excuse me, I have props. As I said, wear your pride on your sleeve, or in the case of our unique community, on your car in the form of a window cling, in your car in the form of a Go Bears travel mug, in your yard with a concrete bear. I didn't have the energy to bring one with me this morning. Or on your desk with a Go Bears bobblehead. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great school year.
Now we will hear testimonials from alumni, recent grads, and an alumna from 1970 who have shared with us recently, both at the 2011 Excellence event and at this year's White Bear Lake Area High School graduation ceremony, what it has meant to them to grow up in White Bear.
Sometimes in our busy lives, we forget about our roots and how they shape our view of the world. And I was thinking about how lucky I am to have grown up in this beautiful part of the country and to have been raised with the values and ideals that Minnesota and the Midwest are so famous for. I have to say, I've lived in different parts of the country, and when people hear that I'm from Minnesota, you know the first thing that they say to me, "Oh, do you know Garrison Keillor?"
We must never lose sight of our roots. We all would not be who we are today if it were not for all the wondrous people who have been a part of our lives. Our administrators, our teachers, our parents. Together, they have molded us into the great individuals that we are today. They have kept the torch of progress lit through their efforts to provide us with better opportunities.
You're an amazing collection of scholars, performers, artists, athletes, civil rights activists, free spirits, and yes, all around good people. But one of the greatest gifts that you will have received from growing up in White Bear Lake is the unconditional love that you have gotten from your teachers, your parents, your sisters and brothers, at least some of the time, your extended family, and your school community. And as you leave this nest and venture on to new opportunities and challenges, there'll be times that you may doubt yourself and doubt your abilities. Let's face it, that's part of growing up. Being human means weathering the storms and learning the value of resilience. But during those times, remember this community of unconditional love, your family and your friends, and the solid foundation that you've received. You're as well equipped as anyone in this country to be successful in what you choose to do and to become the next generation of leaders.
We cannot forget the journey that we have taken as White Bear Lake students and how similar, yet inescapably different, we have become through the years. In White Bear Lake, our individualities transcend just ourselves and create a mosaic of diversity. And if there is one thing that I have learned in my 13 years here at White Bear Lake, it's that we have White Bear pride, and a lot of it. In our community, in our school, in ourselves. And that pride is what has paved our paths and what will illuminate our futures. Our pride is what unites us. It is what makes us stronger, and it is what will carry us when we leave this building tonight.
So it's in this spirit, on your special day of being honored, that I'd like to share with you 3 simple, practical, guiding principles that for me had their origins in my growing up in White Bear Lake. And those 3 principles are love, passion, and compassion.
Our class has been brought together by multiple hardships that we've persevered through in our 13 years. We were in 3rd grade on September 11th, 2001, not quite old enough to understand exactly what happened at first, the cost that our fellow American paid that morning, not only in New York City, but in Pennsylvania, the Pentagon, and around the nation. It was the first time we were truly proud to be Americans, and we learned what our country was all about. We also made it through natural disasters as far-reaching as Hurricane Katrina in 2005, and closer to home, the Hugo tornado of 2008. Countless hours and amounts of money were donated by students and their families in the White Bear Lake Area School District to assist the cleanup and restoration of the Hugo area. Our school community also experienced a loss of an amazing young man last year, Patrick Marzatelli. We leaned on each other for support in this terrible time. We've placed an open chair and bouquet of flowers in his honor here tonight. We banded together and pitched in like a true school community does. When the going gets tough, the White Bear Lake students are there to lend a helping hand.
The lesson that I learned from Ann and from many of my patients over the years is that the unconditional love and values that we learn early in life from our families and from our education are what sustain us throughout our lives. Everyone faces troubles and disappointments, and during those difficult times, people don't draw strength from thinking about the degrees that they've earned or where they went to college or graduate schools or what positions they've held or how much money they have. It's the circle of love that gives them the courage and the confidence to carry on.
Us. We. As individuals, some of us have become national archery champions, some of us have won state titles in wrestling, and some of us have even become national merit scholars. However, our combined forces, with the capabilities and strengths of each individual in this room, are much, much stronger. We have somehow, thankfully, managed to stumble our way through 13 years of education. And we, after 7 years of crushing defeat, have managed to beat Hill Murray. and fill 4 straight sections of the Xcel Energy Center with White Bear Nation. It didn't matter whether we were winning or losing. Our pride in White Bear is what kept us screaming for more.
Over the span of 13 years, the White Bear Lake Area School District has supported and believed in us since our very first nerve-wracking day of kindergarten, from the time some of us first moved here, or when we transferred from another school. Regardless of when or where we started our journeys toward becoming a bear, here tonight we will leave this place knowing in our hearts that we will forever be one, the graduating class of 2011. Our gracious community of White Bear Lake has created a world full of orange and black, opportunity, pride, success, and a sense of familiarity for us all.
We have built our school identity as being competitive in sports, supportive of the fine arts, and driven to high academic standards. The way that other schools and communities view us is important, and for 13 long years, we've contributed to our image being outstanding. This element is particularly obvious if you've ever gone to a White Bear Lake sporting event, and you hear the screaming encouragement of "Go Bears" given by our very own superfans. We are the class of 2011, a class of leaders, a class of inspirers, and a class of mature men and women who, through their experiences, will create a better future. So, when you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, principal of the top-performing high school, or working in the Peace Corps in an impoverished nation, reflect back and thank whoever gave you these opportunities way back in grade school.
So humor me, graduating seniors, and look to your left and look to your right, just once more, and smile. Because although our paths may never again converge, we have all shared in something special, in the simplicity of being proud of being a bear. Thank you.
Well, I was supposed to be introducing Matthew Danielson right now to give a little speech, but you know, I realize y'all have things to do. Lots of work to get done, so go. Just go. Really. Go. Hey, get a jump on that Labor Day weekend traffic, right? Go.
Wait a second. Are you telling them they can go?
Huh?
Did you just say that they could go?
There may have been things said.
Well, they can't go right now.
I know. They have to listen to...
Oh, nice introduction. Thank you for that.
Wow.
Very good. Thanks. You know, I thought if anyone could say something
I'm sorry.
nice
I'm
about
sorry.
me.
It's the end of summer. There's so many things to do between getting ready for students and enjoying these last few days of vacation.
I realize that, but I wrote a speech. I got all dressed up. I put on
Well,
my...
you do look good.
Well,
Really good, actually.
you're embarrassing me, though. You really are.
Well, listen, give your speech. I just think I, like a lot of people in this crowd, will have a lot of trouble hanging on every word. I got a lot of things to think about. Right.
I realize that.
Here and the long weekend.
Well, I'm going to get through it as fast as I can, okay? I'll get through it.
I appreciate it.
All right.
I appreciate it.
So could you? Again, just...
Okay. Introducing Matthew Danielson.
As the poet...
Seating charts.
What?
Oh, sorry. I forgot to, Never mind.
Well,
Continue.
I didn't even...
Poet, higher purpose.
Right. Todd Hiller, the poet, said that educators have a
Bulletin
higher...
boards.
Really? That's what you're going to do during my whole speech?
Well, there are a lot of things going on in my mind right now. I'm sorry.
Can you just forget about the classroom? Can you just
I
stop?
apologize.
Please, I don't ask you to take notes, but just...
All right, sorry. Not thinking about school, the classroom, at all.
All right.
I will not think about it. Selfish of me.
All right. It's for a higher purpose that we,
Mini donuts, promo pops, cheese.
the state fair.
Well, you said don't think about school. I'm not thinking about school.
But I don't have much time.
It seems
to
like you're
talk.
wasting a lot of your time right now.
I know.
Listen, forget all the extra stuff, the quotes. You just get to the point.
Well, I don't have much choice now, do I?
Yeah, I'm sure they really cared what that poet had to say. I mean, you don't have to be deep, I don't think. You just, just tell what your point was, and we'll move on.
So just the point. I get to
Well, yeah,
just
I mean,
say.
you had to have some big, important message you wanted to give.
Actually, it was pretty simple. I mean, it was.
You're really building yourself up here. I'm sure they can't wait. Well, all right, go on. What's your simple little point?
Have you read the book Outliers?
This book?
Thank you for that. Good visual there.
minds.
Well, I wanted to read it this summer. I heard a lot of good things from teachers about it.
Okay, so you can read.
A couple of things really jumped out at me.
Such as?
A chapter about computer programs really jumped out.
Got it right here. It's the chapter about 10,000 hours.
Which I suppose we should explain real quick.
It's a little early in the year for a book report, don't you think?
Would you, since you have the
Well, a
book?
lot of researchers have said that to attain true expertise in a subject or a topic or at a skill, you need about 10,000 hours of practice at that skill.
Right. And that made me think about the opportunities we give to our youngest learners in this community.
I suppose the younger you start helping students find their passions and their interests, the more likely it is that they'll get to the level of being an expert because they'll have a lot more time to get that 10,000 hours of practice in.
Exactly, and it's through our partnerships with schools and staff and communities that I think these
Right,
opportunities
like in
exist.
the arts and music and sports.
Right, and I found it so intriguing about Bill Gates and Bill Joy.
The computer programmers.
Right, and do you remember the gist of that story?
Well, famous computer whizzes like Bill Joy, who wrote one of the most famous operating systems, Steve Jobs from Apple, and of course Bill Gates, the richest guy ever, went to schools that were often the first to have computers and the first then to allow students lab time to work on those computers.
Which has to give you an advantage, right?
Well, you'd certainly think so. I mean, Bill Gates' school was one of the first in the country to have a computer club and actually teach students computer programming.
And then?
Well, and then once the students got to a certain level of expertise, the school helped find those kids opportunities to go out and work as computer programs and gain as programmers and gain even more computing experience.
Right, so community and school partnering.
So what?
Well, the theme is strong schools, strong communities.
Right.
So think of the things
And
we've
the
already done.
partnerships that schools have made within the community.
And isn't it our goal as a school and community to give opportunities like this and create
Of
that?
course. And the opportunities in education that this district already provides.
Exactly.
Why can't we give our students the leg up on the competition?
Right, that's my goal. Give students the opportunity for that kind of success.
And why can't we be the school that turns out the leaders of the next big thing?
Let's give the opportunities that create the innovators, right?
Well, that wasn't simple. That actually was pretty deep.
Well, there was one other thing I wanted to mention before.
Which check?
It was the trouble with geniuses.
Concerning Christopher Langan.
Right, would you?
Sure. Christopher Langan is, according to all testing, the smartest man alive.
He has the highest IQ.
Right. But he's never graduated from college. He works actually as a bouncer at a bar, and in fact, has had a lot of trouble holding jobs.
Right. Do you remember why?
Well, yeah, those that talked to him and interviewed him said it was because he lacked practical intelligence, which is knowing what to say, how to say it, and to whom to say it, to get what you want.
Right. Kind of work the system.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's one way of putting it. He said he was unable to make it through college because he didn't know the correct way to ask for help in changing his schedule. You know, little things that most people would know how to do. He didn't have a background, and in many cases, people that he asked for help labeled him as difficult because he wasn't polite. He didn't know how to ask for things.
Right. Schools and professors had no idea how bright he was.
Right. And he lost his scholarship because he and his mother didn't know how to fill out the paperwork, and he didn't know how to ask for help.
Exactly. So you don't want that, right? I mean, we work with kids that can't advocate, and we
You don't want huge amounts of untapped potential, do you?
Exactly. And we're all going to work with those we classify as difficult.
But
right?
We all need to make sure that they're being set up for success, just like those who already know the system. And I guess along the way,
Help everyone learn the system of success, right?
see,
What?
better than quoting a poet.
Well, you're probably right about
Now,
that. There's-
get off the stage so they can get back to work or at least enjoy those last few breaths of summer.
You're right. You're right. Okay?
Have a great...
Wait. It's my speech.
What?
Well, I should be the one saying,
Well, I've
goodbye.
actually been on stage longer than you, so how was that?
Count of three. We'll say it together, okay?
Okay,
Count
so-
of three. One.
So 1, 2, and then we say it, or 1, 2, 3, and then we say it?
Of anyone, I would think you and I could get on the same page.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
One,
1, 2, 3. Have a great year.
Staff accomplishments were many during the 2010-2011 academic year. In fact, we had so many recognitions this year that this is a fast presentation. So, read quickly and keep up the good work.
Boy, after seeing all that great video and hearing the great stories about the success of our students and our alum and all that our staff and faculty have contributed, one thing's really obvious to me, Doug. This district has come a long way from when we started on the board.
Boy, is that the truth. I can remember when things started. Well, the district had run two levies, two votes to renew the operating levy. Lost them both. We became the poster child for the state of Minnesota. Don't be like White Bear Lake. Don't let your school district have the kind of problems that White Bear Lake has, and that's how everybody looked at all of us. Everywhere you went in town, people were talking about the schools. It wasn't always the conversations you wanted people to have. The board meetings would have hundreds of angry people shouting down members at meetings. The police were coming and standing by at the meetings in case things got too far out of hand. That was life back at that time.
You know, the thing that I remember most is pictures in parking lots. There was a photograph in our local newspaper that showed one of our classrooms stuffed to the gills. There were so many students in that classroom that some of them had to sit on crates because we couldn't fit the desks into the room. And the other thing is, in the parking lots, we actually had citizens in the community who were keeping track of when staff and when faculty arrived and when they left during the day.
I remember the idea was just cut. You know, everybody gets by on less, just cut. There's got to be fat in the budget someplace. And it was cut programs everywhere, cut people everywhere. We lost about 1/6 of the staff that we had at the time as we fought our way through it.
You know, it was a time of fantastical statistics. I remember reading in the paper that the White Bear District has a budget that's 10 times the size of our communities. So remind me again about how many communities we have in the district. They went on to say that 92% of our money is spent on people. And, you know, again, remind me what education's all about. The feeling was that, boy, if you got that much money, 92% we're just giving away the store. My favorite rumor, all-time favorite rumor, was that every single school had a budget for donuts of $20,000. You seen any of those donuts?
Now, in those tough times, what happened was people stepped up. Community members stepped up, staff stepped up, and it was amazing. The efforts that people made and the relationships that were built. There was organized opposition, but frankly, they helped us focus. And we said, here are some issues that people are talking about. It gives us the chance to do something about it. Within a couple years, members of that opposition actually became some of the community's strongest advocates for our schools because we brought them in and we made them a part of the process. It was amazing to see things turn in the community.
But I think a more important thing is that during all the difficult time, the staff and faculty never, ever lost their focus on our students. And by doing the excellent, excellent work that you did, you proved the worth of our district to our community.
I know what a lot of people are thinking. This is ancient history. You old guys, you don't know anything about this. There's some truth to that. But the point is, we saw some things happen. White Bear Lake became the poster child once again and became the example that other districts pointed to and said, this is how to do things right. This is how you rebuild relationships in your community. This is how you strengthen the schools that you've got. I look back at the things that happened in that time. I look back at 2 successful levies, a successful bond, lots of different things that you could point to statistically. But maybe the greatest accomplishment was that everybody's forgotten about those times. And that, I think, is the sign of the success that took place, is that everybody says, that's ancient history. And that's really the point, is the work of a lot of good people made those bad days ancient history.
That was a time when everybody stepped up, and we had all of us who were participating in the educational community, making phone calls, knocking on doors, writing letters, talking to our neighbors. It's because you folks helped to make history that we have been successful. And we're going to need you to help out so that we can make history again. Thank you.
I really wish that I had been able to look at the program before they determined where I was on the stage, because following the fabulous Jim Galvin and the Identical Twins, this is going to be a little boring for you. Okay. Good. All right. Thank you. This presentation will be made over 30 times in September and October to help the community better understand the important strides that the district has made over the past 4 years and how the district has successfully used the resources that the community gave the district when it approved the operating levy ballot in 2007. We have a complex district encompassing 10 municipalities, ranging from Hugo on the north to Maplewood on the south, Birchwood on the east, and Little Canada on the west. More than 8,000 young learners come to early child through high school and to our Transition Plus programs in our buildings. And we cannot forget the adult learners, the 16,000 community members we serve each year through community education. Here we see some measures of academic success by our students. This year's ninth graders had the highest passage rate in the East Metro area on the grad writing test. MCA scores last year showed the greatest improvement in the East Metro in both math and science. MAP testing, which shows the growth in learning that a student makes in a given year, shows a gain in math of 1 year and 7 months and reading 1 year and 5 months for the past year. Our high school students have one of the greatest opportunities in the metro area to take college credit courses and save their parents and sometimes their grandparents on tuition costs when they get into college. This does not cost the district any money because taking these courses, the students get credit both for their high school experience and some college credit. It's estimated that these programs annually save our families over $1 million in tuition costs. Another measure of student success is the co-curricular areas of sports and the arts. These are some of last year's successes in track, archery, our plays, choir, hockey, wrestling, girls basketball, National History Day, our middle school musical, and our strings program. 5 teams to a state tournament, state recognition for an outstanding musical and an honored choir, and success in the National History Day competition for the 10th consecutive year. With more than 75% of our households not having children in school, a cohesive school board that delivers clear messages is one of the major ways to show the community that the district is moving in the right direction. This district has been extremely fortunate to have this be the case for well over a decade. And it is reflected in the fact that the district has successfully passed 3 of its last 4 operating levy ballot questions. Stable enrollment is significant to a school district being able to deliver sustainable programs to its students. Enrollment patterns throughout the state and the nation are consistent with the left side of our enrollment graph. There were simply fewer children being born, and as a result, for many of our many years, our kindergarten classes were much lower than the previous year's graduating seniors. However, looking forward, our projections show stable enrollment that will average around 600 students per grade level as we move through the next decade. This helps to stabilize our revenue and allows us to provide sustainable programs to our students. School districts have been severely impacted by the manner in which the state has reduced how we are paid for the education that we have provided to our students. Since 2009, state funding has been reduced from receiving 90% of what we earned to this year receiving only 60% of what we earned. The state has borrowed over $2.1 billion from our schools with no clear way to repay this. In White Bear alone, at the end of this school year, we will have an IOU of over $20 million from the state. We have to borrow money to pay our bills, and this takes money out of the classroom. The improvement that our district has made in its financial health over the past 15 years is a credit to all of us. This is another area that the community members look to when deciding whether to support school districts. The impact on the previous slide is having our financial stability shown here. By the end of this school year, we will have a general fund balance of about $10 million and an IOU from the state of over $21 million, over twice the amount of our fund balance. Even with the problems created by the state budget process, we continue to provide more opportunities for our students. Through efficient use of resources, I'll give you just two examples. Our transportation program is the most efficient and effective for its size in the East Metro area. The money that we save on transportation costs go directly into our classrooms. A second piece, we're saving $45,000 annually with our partnership with the Roseville Area School District in sharing our nutrition services director. Budget management. Every year, the district prepares a 5-year financial forecast that allows it to see what the impact is on the decisions that need to be made in the budget process. And partnerships. We have developed many partnerships over the past few years, which allows the district to provide additional services to our students that we could not afford to do on our own. Here shows many of the partnerships that we have developed over the past years. Now we're at the point where the operating levy approved by the community in 2007 needs to be renewed. That year, more than 63% of those casting ballots voted to support the school district. This operating levy represents over 15% of our general fund revenue and is absolutely critical if we are to provide sustainable programs to our students, especially in the light of the state budget problems. There is never any guarantee that an operating levy will be approved by our community. Since the beginning of the process that Doug and Rolf talked about, the district has been successful as often as it has failed. Now, 500 will be a good record for most of our professional teams. But historically, the opportunity for success of an operating levy ballot question is very tenuous. School districts are allowed to do community surveys to see how they are being perceived by the community and what the community sentiment may be for financial support. The district conducted a community survey this past April, and here we see some of the community responses. When asked, would you favor or oppose a proposal to renew the operating levy? 66% said they would favor it. Would you favor or oppose after they received additional information through the survey group? That number rose to 75%. Okay. When asked, would you favor or oppose if it was not an increase in your property taxes? That favor response rose to 78%. It's important for the community to understand what the district has done with the money that was provided to it in 2007. Those funds have helped the district to lower elementary class sizes, especially in the primary grades. World languages have been restored in our middle schools. In fact, we know of no other middle school in the East Metro area that provides 3 world language options to its 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. Our high school has eliminated the mandatory study hall of years past, and also by moving to the 6-period day, increased the amount of time that our students received instruction in the core area subjects. I mentioned earlier the benefits related to having the option of taking college-level classes at the high school. And again, that saves the parents of our community over $1 million a year. Earlier, we touched on the successful results that we have seen in academic achievement. MAP testing results consistently show growth greater than a grade level in each year, with some grade levels in the top 2% nationally in achievement. 96% proficiency by our ninth graders in the grad writing test. 2010 results show that our math and science scores have increased more rapidly than any other East Metro district. As I mentioned earlier, we have about 75% of the homes in our community that do not have school-age children. One of the measures that a community uses to determine if they are willing to support operating levy initiatives by the school district is how the district has managed the funds that have been given to them. Our district is the only Minnesota school district to receive awards for excellence in financial reporting from ASBO and GFOA now for 11 consecutive years. A AA bond rating from Standard & Poor's when we sold bonds in 2008 puts our district in the top 3% of districts in the state. Data shows that we have a higher percentage of our revenue getting into the classroom, directly into the classroom, than other East Metro districts. And over the past 2 years, we have reduced spending outside of the classroom so we could maintain our class size improvements in spite of the state budget problems. Let's review some of our points for today's discussion. The operating levy approved in 2007 expires this year. The school board unanimously approved the resolution in July to put the ballot question for renewal on this year's November vote. If the operating levy is renewed, and this is very important, it will not increase the revenue that the school district gets, nor will it increase the property taxes that the community has to pay. It is simply a straight renewal. We're not alone in needing the support of a local operating levy. Over 90% of the school districts in the state of Minnesota have some form of operating levy revenue. This year, over 130 school districts will have a ballot question in November. This is the largest number of districts to do so in the past decade. If successful, continuation of the operating levy will help to maintain current class sizes and programs. Failure to renew the operating levy will cost us 15% of our existing revenue. That's about $14 million. It'll cause obviously higher class sizes, it'll cause fewer program opportunities for our students, and it will cause the district to consider consolidation and probable closure of some schools. As I mentioned on the first slide, this presentation is being made over 30 times over the next 2 months. We will talk to city councils, township boards, economic development groups, service organizations, and parent groups. We will have 3 community meetings and gather with staff from each of our buildings. The presentation will be available on the district website later this month. All of these are intended to help the community better understand the important strides that the district has made over the past 4 years, and how the district has successfully used resources that the community provided to it in 2007. All right, now I'm going to act a little bit like Jim Galvin. Go Bears!
We now welcome to the stage Dr. Michael Lovett, Superintendent of the White Bear Lake Area School District.
I'd like to begin by thanking all of those who participated in this morning's convocation. Hasn't it been amazing to see our students and staff and graduates? It also made me realize how dumb I was to sign up for the last spot in the program. As I've been sitting thinking about my presentation and the amazing morning, I thought about a parent who called me my first year as a school superintendent in White Bear Lake. It was one of those days when it was about 57 below zero and it seemed like every school around us closed and I kept open. Now the truth is all my colleagues told me that they were going to keep open, and since I was a rookie I didn't realize that they were going to change their mind at 6:15. But anyway, I had a number of parents to call back. I remember especially one grandparent. She had a southern accent, so I listened carefully. She was outraged. She said, "I know why you've kept school open. You've got a record you haven't closed for 20 years. I said, "Ma'am, that may be true, but I'm in my first year. This is my mistake, just this time." And I went on and I said, "Ma'am, what is it that you're worried about?" "My granddaughter." "Well, what about your granddaughter?" "She's in 9th grade, and she went to school today without any gloves, without a hat, and without even a jacket." So I at least knew who she was mad at. "Ma'am, are you from around here?" "No, I'm from Tennessee." "Well, have you been here long?" "Well, too long. But my relatives all are from Scandinavia, and they tell me that if you're going to live in Minnesota, you just have to buck up and get used to it." So I felt like I'd had a pretty successful conversation and went on my business. The next big snowstorm that occurred the next year, Jody Bieber said, "You've got to listen to this voicemail." "Hello. I called last year. I'm 67 years old, and I'm getting smarter every year. Would you tell that superintendent that he's getting dumber every year?" Colleagues, in just 5 days, we'll be welcoming more than 8,000 students to our schools to begin a new year. We'll watch them bounce out of buses, stream from the neighborhoods, and exit cars. They'll be dressed for the occasion. For every one of them, it's a special day, a new beginning. For all of us, it's a new beginning too. When the children and parents come to school, what will they notice about us? I remember a visit to an elementary school this past spring. Clustered around the teacher, first graders were sitting cross-legged on a carpet, poring over their math workbooks. Their teacher has assigned them challenging new problems, and some are looking a bit bewildered as they wait for his attention. I join the class and kneel among the students. In a few moments, a boy and girl are at my side asking for help. With a nod of approval from the teacher, I try to help the children as they puzzle through questions such as, concentrate now, if 15 blackbirds are sitting in a field and 9 fly away, how many are left? Now, can you see why they were working as a team? That was pretty subtle for those of you who are working it out in your head. As I work through this and other formidable problems with the children, one little girl leans over my shoulder, offering a steady stream of advice and suggestions. Then I realize she's stopped talking, but that her head is about 3 inches from my ear. "Do you have a question?" "Mm-hmm. Are you a grown-up?" Why, yes, I think so." "Are you a grandpa?" "Well, no. Why do you ask?" "Because you've got those things in your face like my grandpa does." "You mean wrinkles?" "Yep, those things." We finished the lesson and we went on to lunch. Afterwards, I thought more about the question that the child was asking. Children are watching us all the time, not just how we look and what we do, but especially how we treat one another and especially how we treat children. In their world, adults are bigger than life. They expect us all to be grown-ups. The beginning of the school year is a time of joyful reunions. At South Campus, we watched students hug and look joyful and be happy. They were approaching their senior year. They were so happy to be back together. It really is a time for joyful reunions. It's also a time for uncertainty and difficult decisions. On a driveway basketball court in our neighborhood, a high school junior was struggling with a decision. Does he go out for football again, a sport he's played since 3rd grade and loves to do? Or does he take a season off, and work to earn money for college. It is a time for uncertainty and decisions. It's a time for wonder. I walked around the 9th grade orientation with a 9th grader. I was a proxy parent left to help after her mother forgot the checkbook. Now, that mother is in the audience today. You don't need to identify yourself because we did a semi-scientific survey recognizing that about 1 in 10 parents forget the checkbook for the registration. At any rate, the benefit for me was that I could see the registration through the eyes of a 9th grade girl. I saw that she was overwhelmed by the seemingly unending circles at North Campus. New staff, you're experiencing the same thing. You can see my tape marks from my first year, actually. She was surprised by the invitation to sign up for driver's education. She wondered, am I in the right courses? And in our conversation at the end, I could tell she was feeling, I must be growing up. A time for wonder. A time to be grateful. A mother stopped by our office last week, touched by what had happened at Central's registration. In the car with her 2 daughters and younger son, she pulled up on registration night. Her daughter saw a familiar face and jumped out of the car and ran across the lawn to a teacher. After a big hug, the girl literally danced back to the car. She said to her mother, Mom, she was my favorite teacher last year, and this year I get her twice, for home base and for class. Later that night, the older sister said, Mom, this is going to be a good year. A time to be grateful. A time of fear and driving out fear. At sunrise registration, I saw a mother and son. The mother was chatty and happy to see her friends. Her sixth grader looked a little scared and very bored and eager to get back outside. The next day, I asked the mother how it went. She said, I asked him whether he was excited, and he said, yes. I asked him if he was afraid. He said, no, of course not. And then I said, when I was your age, I remember being a little bit scared going into middle school. He was quiet and he said, Mom, I am a little bit scared, but just a little. A time of fear and driving out of fear. And this week we saw the 8th grade web students and teacher leaders driving out that fear because those scared 6th graders showed up, and by noon they were all confident because they had a new friend. These last weeks around our elementary school, students have been bicycling up to windows, peeping in, looking for familiar faces, right? Looking for a teacher, any teacher, one they know or don't, somebody that will give them access to where they want to be to help out. In the southwestern corner of our district, the Vadnais Heights staff have their annual picnic for welcoming families at a neighborhood park. Games, crafts, hot dogs served by staff and the principal. The girls literally dance up to their teachers and hug. Conversations follow. The boys dash by, wave, smile maybe, and cluster around the craft table or run off to play basketball or soccer. Among the students is a 7th grader. Do you remember me? She's moved out of the area and is attending another school in another area, but she wants to be with her first school. She says, I love Vadnais Heights. She's still skinny, but that shy smile is becoming more confident. Scared about starting the new school, she's coming back to the place, her first school, where she knows staff will welcome her home. What makes a strong school and a strong community? What is the link between strong schools and strong community? Each year I join about 20 community members and school staff who interview finalists for the White Bear Lake Area Schools Teacher of the Year. For 3 hours we ask questions and listen, but that really doesn't tell the story. The answers given by our outstanding teachers explain why they went into teaching and what keeps them there. What gets them excited? What makes them cry? There's nothing routine about it. In the spring of 2010, I sat listening as 4th grade Willow Lane teacher Erin Moss answered the question about why she became a teacher. With emotion, She started telling about her high school math teacher. When she had faced a time of acute disappointment and discouragement, his commitment and encouragement gave her an extraordinary boost of confidence. Erin began to tear up, and we were all quiet, biting our lips, looking down, moved by the power of her story. This remarkable teacher, whoever he was, had not only been an inspiration to her in high school, but now that Erin was a teacher, he continued to be an inspiration. I looked up and saw to my right a retired teacher in our group of interviewers who had tears in his eyes too. In a moment, all of us around the table understood why. Erin nodded toward him and said, "That math teacher was Mr. Galvin." Erin and Jim, please stand. They're doing it again. A wonderful example, a powerful example of what makes a strong school and community. Commitment to help every student. Commitment that is unconditional and unwavering. I listen sometimes to my colleagues from other districts talk about their schools and communities, and especially about the power struggles or incivility of adults to one another, about turf battles and the discouragement that occurs. I listen and I think of our White Bear Lake area schools in our communities. I think about our 10 communities. We meet regularly with our city administrators and our township clerk. The city administrators, township clerk, and mayors in our municipalities have been critical partners in some of the remarkable partnerships that exist between our school and our community, including the YMCA partnership with city and township, the Vadnais Heights Sports Center where we play hockey and our youth teams play at the Dome, and in Hugo where we have extensive cooperation with our recreational facilities. These partnerships, these school community partnerships, also come together because generations of our community have come forward to find solutions to challenging age-old problems, solutions that rely on cooperation and innovation. In an era of financial challenges, this cooperation is more critical than ever. Sometimes we also come together under more difficult circumstances, as we did 3 years ago after the Hugo tornado. And each time a tragedy affects members of our school community. I'll not mention them, but this past year we've had some difficult ones, and it's pulled together and really renewed our schools and community and our partnership. What makes a strong school and community? Commitment to every family, commitment that is unconditional and unwavering. Today we come to celebrate the beginning of a new year. You've watched how our students perform, listened to the stories of our graduates, and heard how important it is for our community to trust us and believe in our work. Each of us has a responsibility for a small part of the whole. We teach, we drive a bus, we cook and serve breakfast and lunch, we clean, we support students, staff, and parents. But each of us has a common responsibility that is bigger than our individual job. We build quality lives for our whole community and build strong communities through compassion, integrity, respect, responsibility, and service. These are our core values. When our children and families arrive on Tuesday, what will they see and remember? We already know that one little girl will see me and she'll notice my wrinkles. But it is for all of us to make sure that when they come on Tuesday, they see our commitment to every student and family, commitment that is unconditional and unwavering. That will be our legacy. Have a great year.
In another example of our district and community members working together, this video, Strong Schools, Strong Community, was created in collaboration with the White Area Educational Foundation.
When you begin in life, you don't know where it's going to take you, and you just hope that you can kind of find a place in which everyone is supportive of each other and is wanting to encourage you to take some chances and some risks, but then also for you to be able to give back in that same capacity. And I find that the White Bear Lake community in this whole area is very supportive of what families are trying to accomplish.
You go around town and you run into the leaders, the organizers, the contributors to the community, and I went to school with them.
I think what's special about it is the fact that everyone feels like a family, and we all do what we can to help out each other.
It's special because you can make more friends and you can talk to others how you feel, and you can be proud of who you are.
What I think is special about the White Bear Lake community is the people who surround you, and if you are surrounded by positive energy, you will soon or be able to have that positive energy build into yourself and you can spread it. So that's what I think.
I think one of the most special things about White Bear is our ability to come together as a community and address whatever issues we may need to address. The great bond that the community has and its ability to come together in times of need is really powerful and really unique.
My husband died 7 years ago, and the support I've gotten from this community has been absolutely fabulous. And for 7 years it's been that way. And I feel it's that way in the community, and it's also that way in the schools.
I really feel like as a community we value our education system.
Well, I'm proud of our school district. I'm proud because we have so many teachers and school leaders, I think, who go that extra mile to give our kids a quality education, especially in these tough times.
It's really imperative to have a strong school district in order for the business community to remain strong, to remain vital, to bring new businesses in, to have people locate here.
There are many teachers in this district that I consider partners in raising my children, and to them I've been very grateful.
The White Bear Lake District has been my life. I grew up here, so it has really shaped to who I am.
I'm proud to be a student because of the spirit that we have here.
Well, I'm proud to go to school feeling safe and secure and good about myself every day.
I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that White Bear has provided me, and I know that in the future I will go to many great places.
We value education. Oftentimes our kids go out and further their education, but so many times I see families that come back, and so we see so many families that it is a homecoming of sorts, and I think people feel like they really belong to something special here.
My dreams are to be a billionaire or a dancer or a show host.
My dreams are to be an anesthesiologist, and I also plan to contribute what I can to the district once I accomplish my goals.
My dream for the future is to experience the world.
Anyone who knows me would know my dream for my future would be being a Hollywood superstar.
My dream is to be a football player.
Dream.
My dream is to be a scientist. Well, I've always wanted to be a teacher or to be like a really good reader, and Lake Airs Elementary helps me by pushing me to read more, and I have read a lot more than I did last year.
Well, I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up, so I just want to get it on the A honor roll all through school And you guys can help me by teaching me good habits and good ways and giving me a good education.
As of today, it changes every day. So as of today, I want to pursue biomedical engineering along with international business, and then go on to pursue international law.
Oh, I can give you a cheer.
Okay.
Okay. We are the parents and we love to cheer. That's why we're here. Woo!
Go Bears!
Go Bears!
Go Bears!
Go Bears and Ocho.
Go Bears! Go Bears!
Go Bears!
Go Bears!
Go Bears! Go Bears!
Hey, go Bears!
Go Bears!
Go Bears!
Go Bears! Go Bears!
Go Bears!
Hey, go Bears!
Go Bears!
Here's a last reminder. If you were one of the lucky attendees with a bear paw on the front of your program and the correct spelling of reception in the lineup, remember to come to the front of the stage to pick up your prize. For those of you who did not win, you'll be happy to know that homecoming gear is available for purchase as you exit the auditorium. Hey, thank you all for attending the 2011 opening convocation. Have a great year, and go Bears!